Hello and welcome to a brand new week and a brand new episode of Fast Talkers, as we have the pleasure, the delight, the sheer joy of talking about one of the best races I have ever seen. But is it the best race anybody else has ever seen? Let's find out, because we have a stellar lineup for you tonight. We have, first of all, founder of WTF1, Tom Bellingham. Tom, how did you rate the race?
Yes, very, very good. I noticed you had Matt on the podcast, who's our presenter at WTF1, and he had to talk about Spain. I've got this one, so I think I've done better than him.
You're already winning in life. What more could we say? Next up, F1 journalist all the way from Brazil, Julianne Cerasoli. Did I do any better pronouncing your surname this time, Julianne?
Very good, impressive.
Okay.
Well, with the Italian Grand Prix, I was in a very good place in the end because I didn't know where to start to tell the story to my listeners, to the readers as well. And that is always a good starting point, isn't it? When you just don't know how we're going to tell the story. So
exciting, so passionate, so French, I suppose, which is why I think it's apt that we welcome on Frederic Ferret, F1 reporter for L'Equipe. And Fred, it's a delight to have you on. How joyous was it on Sunday for you?
I couldn't find a word, just like Pierre didn't find one, because I waited 24 years to live that in life. So it was a delight to have that kind of victory, and especially that it was not expected. So I would rate that race 11 out of 10.
Love that. Just tell us the significance for you as a French F1 journalist, but for France in general.
It was, you can imagine that we are waiting for that since the birth of Pierre Gasly. Can you imagine when I spoke to him on Sunday night, he said, because I was born in 96, I always thought that there will be some connecting between the victory of Olivier Panis in 96 in Monaco and the victory over French. And I always thought that I could be the first French to win. So can you imagine that a young boy go-karting is thinking about that? And we saw a lot of French drivers failing to win, especially Romain Grosjean in the last 5 years. And he had a lot of opportunities to win, but there were engine failure or Red Bull or things like that. But at the end, we still have one now since Sunday. So that's a great thing. And Emmanuel Macron, the French president, sent him a message on Sunday night. So when the French president sent a message, that it means some things for the French.
Absolutely. I have to say that I envy Fred now, because I never covered a Brazilian win. The last Brazilian win was in 2009 in Monza as well with Rubens. And I started doing Formula One in 2011. I even knew that.
Julianne, on Sunday, it was my 250th Grand Prix. So I'm sorry, but you may have to wait, maybe.
That's a good celebration. I think you could tell just how much it meant by the French commentary that F1 shared. And even as someone that doesn't speak much French at all, very, very little, you can just hear the passion in their voice. And I think if you played that clip without even knowing, you could tell it was 24 years, because it just a huge display of emotion. And that clip, like I say, even when I don't speak French, it just kind of gives you goosebumps, because you can hear.
But you have to know that Julien Frébrot is he began in 2005 and he's crazy about Formula One. So he has to wait just like me, even if he's much younger. But he was grown in that kind of weight, just like the Messiah. And for us French, we thought that it would never happen again, because Panis was kind of luck. The year before in 95 with Jean Alesi, it was a kind of luck in Canada. So we thought that, okay, we have Alain Prost, which is one of the most talented drivers, but since him, it's a mess, and it's nobody came. Even if we had drivers like Franck Montagny, like Sébastien Bourdais, like Romain Grosjean, but nothing came. So it's a real relief now.
Do you think that then for someone like me who gets to report week after week after week of Lewis Hamilton winning at races, winning at championships, do you think we become blasé about it because we don't put it up as high as we should?
I spend all my weekends with Ben from The Sun, with John from the Mail, and every time they have a story, and I can't do a story every weekend about Lewis, even if he's the greatest. I have to find a new ways. So I have Esteban Ocon, I have Pierre Gasly, I have Romain Grosjean, but at the end, there's nowhere. So we have to invent ourselves, just like Julianne. When you're not an English driver, it's tough to find ways and features to put in your newspaper.
For me, it's even better now not having a Brazilian driver on the grid, because I can cover the sport. I don't have to keep focusing on what Felipe is doing in the last couple of years. He was on 16th, 17th. And even I didn't have any questions to ask him anymore. He didn't want me to talk to him anymore because he didn't want to talk about being 16th on the grid. And it's actually better for my work because now I don't have to worry about Brazilian driver. It's worse in a way because of course I'm alone now. I'm the only Brazilian journalist because we have no drivers. So the interest is not the same.
But Julianne, it's better for you because you will be better in a few years. We used to have that in France, and when I began, it was in 2 or 3. There were no French driver, and then you have to cope with that kind of thing, and then you become connected with a young Fernando Alonso. You become connected with a young Jenson Button, and then because even if you are French, you are interested in that kind of driver. So at the end, it will make you better.
Yeah, I think one of the first journalists I interviewed Charles Leclerc because I interviewed him on the first day of the first test in Barcelona.
You see?
There you go.
I mean, for you, Tom, I suppose one of your whole raison d'etres at WTF1 is to have the younger drivers part of what you do. I mean, it seems intrinsic that all of them come up via your ranks and being your mates. Is that what it feels like to you, or is that just my old person's outsider look?
We know that a lot of drivers kind of follow us when they're growing up now. And yeah, Gasly is one of them that I remember when he was in GP2, he would message us on Instagram and stuff and like our pictures and things. And I was thinking, oh, that's really cool. So then when he got into Formula One, I remember he came up to us in the paddock when we went to a race in Baku and said like, oh, I've been wanting to meet you guys for a while and stuff, to say hello. So like, yeah, it seems like a really nice guy. And it is so great to just see a new winner. And even as, like you were saying earlier about Lewis Hamilton winning, and as a British person, don't get me wrong, like even if he's the greatest of all time, you want to see new winners. And we have been waiting for a new winner for so long. I can't believe I did a really badly aged tweet actually just before the race where I was complaining that the hybrid era hasn't had a single win from anyone outside of Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull. And then the very next day, Gasly goes and does it. So
we can put it all down to you, Tom. It was
I don't know about that.
Please do another one next Sunday.
Hopefully.
Well, someone you all know, Luis Fernando Ramos from my radio, who did Formula One for many years. He tweeted during the race, I think F3 or F2 was won by an Italian driver or Italian team. I don't remember exactly what it was. And he said, he tweeted, this is the last time you're going to hear the Italian anthem this Sunday.
I saw that, yeah.
Can I tell you that last year in Brazil, before the start of the race, the newspaper told me that they canceled one page from my newspaper. And I said, okay, but when Pierre Gasly will have a podium, then you will call me back and it will be 9 o'clock in the evening. And that was for fun. And then it happens. And during the red flag, I texted my boss and told him, are you prepared for the first French victory And he said, come on, one time it worked, not twice. And at the end, it was it.
I love that. That's amazing.
And Pierre didn't believe it. I showed him the two texts.
Now, I would love to hear why Gasly winning was so important, not just for the sport, but for each one of you. If you have a great Gasly story, memory, whatever it may be. Julianne, what was your interaction like with Pierre?
Always very good. I remember I did an interview with him in Japan, and we talked a lot about Julianne at the time and how his death really had a huge impact on him. And he was for a long time racing, thinking, oh, this really can happen. It's not something from the past. It's something that happened to a friend of mine. And I just have this memory of this interview. He was very shy, very young, and still having had to cope with that with someone as close as Jules was to him. So that is the first thing that comes to mind. Very nice person, always very good with us.
Tom?
Yeah, I think for me, just Gasly winning, I obviously don't really know him particularly well, but I think it's just great for Formula One to see a new winner because we really have been starved of it. It's funny that I've been thinking about unpredictable races, and you mentioned about Panis winning. That was one of the very first races I ever watched when I was a kid, and I remember watching it, and Panis winning that race kind of spoilt Monaco forever for me because I thought, wow, this is incredible. It's the craziest race ever. No one finishes. We get a random winner, and then it doesn't really happen as much as we expect. So the fact that, you know, Gasly again has won such a random race. I saw today someone had won a bet of 166,000 to 1 to predict the top 3 podium, and they got it right.
Yeah, it was 20 cents, wasn't it? The guy.
Yeah, unbelievable. So
I think a lot more people are going to do those bets now, maybe.
They're going to lose some money.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Bets every race in the radio broadcast. And I said, Lewis and Valtteri are going to crash and Paris is going to win. Couldn't be more wrong.
Well, you tried. We all love someone that tries. And that weirdly, that's kind of a bit like, I feel like why I love Pierre Gasly so much, because he keeps on trying. And so we first really got to know each other a little bit better when we did Race of Champions, and I go out there as a reporter and he was there as one of the drivers. And everyone's a bit kind of more off guard, they're a bit more relaxed, and he just came across as this utterly delightful guy. And ever since that point, he always says hi to me in the paddock as if we kind of know each other, which is very sweet. And then obviously he had that horrible midpoint of last year when he got kicked out of Red Bull. His best mate was killed in an accident while he was at the circuit. And then Brazil, where he was on the podium, and I cried. I couldn't believe that F1 could give back to someone when it had taken away so much that year. And again, because I'm an idiot, at the weekend, I'm summing up while Charles Leclerc comes over and congratulates Pierre. And again, I just go and I'm live on the radio and I'm sort of almost in tears because...
Can you imagine that it's because of Charles' crash that he won?
It's just phenomenal the way it all happened. And, you know, the fact Charles came over and congratulated him, there wasn't a single driver, it seemed like, who didn't want to congratulate Pierre because of everything he's been through. And you did feel like it was someone looking down on him saying, you know what? Enough's enough. Have a race win. And I mean, Fred, you know him better than all of us. What's he like? Why is he so deserving of this win?
Yeah, you sum it up likely. I know him since 2011. So he was in go-kart and in the French team. And every year the French Federation brings some journalists during test days in the mountain in January. So but it's good because you get to know the young drivers from the go-karts, and then you go and see the one which are in single seaters. So it's a best way to get acquainted with that kind of driver, and then they all remember you, because the next day you do a story with them, and that's the first story you write in L'Equipe for them. So they're, even if it's a small piece, they're amazed by that kind of thing, and then you have the contact for the beginning. As a matter of fact, I was at the beginning of the season in 2014 in Monza when Pierre fighted against Carlos, the first two races. So we remind us about that kind of things, and Pierre has to win because he suffered too much in the Red Bull system. And I think Helmut Marko is a tough guy. He's a great guy because he discovered Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, and Max. He didn't discover, but he gave the chance to Max, but he's too harsh. And what he did to Pierre, of course, I'm French, so I will go on the other side. But we had a lot of fight against Red Bull in Austria last year, and it was very tough with the PR and Horner and Marko. And the way they did that, it was not fair. I agreed that they sacked Sébastien Bourdais in 2008 because he was too young, he was too complaining. But Pierre is not a guy who complains. Pierre is a great driver who is a great worker, and you can talk to Franz Tost, which is not an easy guy too. And when Franz Tost says that Pierre is one of the best drivers he ever had in his team, and he compare him to Sebastian Vettel or Daniel Ricciardo, then you have I can't say much.
Julianne, when it comes to the way he was treated by Red Bull, how did you read that, and what do you see for his future?
I think we can put everything we're talking about him together. He's this very nice human being, a proper human being. He's not a machine. And the Red Bull system is made for machines. It's not made for reading different people and treating different people to bring the best out of them, or each one of them.
You're completely right. That's why Daniel left, because he's not a machine.
Yeah, Max is.
Yeah.
So it's going to work with Max. Max, we put a lot of pressure on him and he delivers. With different people, they deal with these situations in different ways. And a good manager is the one who is able to take the best out of each individual, just understanding that they are different. And for Pierre, he was treated as a machine. He's not. And I think he should leave. I don't know if Fred would agree with me. He should leave the Red Bull system because it's not meant to be for him. It's going to be Max's kingdom for a long time.
Forever.
Tom, what do you think?
Strange, isn't it? One thing I was thinking the other day as well is, and not something that I've seen mentioned very much, is the person behind him on the road. Obviously, Carlos Sainz was in the Red Bull program as well and never got promoted up to the big team. So you've got two guys there that you could argue Red Bull didn't believe in, and they're fighting for a Grand Prix victory against each other at the front. So the interesting one for me in that race is that Gasly in his first season obviously really struggled, and Albon got in that car and you thought, okay, maybe he's doing a little better, but we can't really be sure, give him time. And he not really has improved very much at all. And he's going very much through the same thing. For me, this AlphaTauri victory that Gasly has gone has completely exposed that second Red Bull seat as being, it doesn't matter who you put in that seat, they're not getting anything against Max Verstappen.
But can we go further? Is the Red Bull car a good car? I think it's a shitty car, and because Max is a great driver, he can cope with that oversteering or understeering or unpredictable car, and he masks everything. And when you are a good driver, just like Alex, or a very good driver, just like Pierre, but you have to struggle with Max and unpredictable car, but then you have to fight with things, and you go down in the rankings.
Absolutely,
and also,
yeah.
Not really good in qualifying. So Max can take this a little bit extra in qualifying, But if you are like 1-2 tenths slower, you have like 2-3 positions down the grid because everything is so close behind Red Bull. And then if you are starting at 8th, your race is going to be completely different compared to Max starting in 3rd.
We were mentioning this on our podcast recently that Alex, and it's the same for Pierre, you're 3 tenths off Max Verstappen in a Red Bull, and Max is 3rd and you're finishing 10th. Valtteri's 3 tenths off Lewis and he's still 2nd, so it doesn't look as bad for him. So it really does, the tight midfield almost kind of makes that even tougher for Red Bull. And you're right, Max is this machine now where he just seems to be able to deliver, other than last weekend, which that car wasn't suited to that track, but he just seems to be able to get the best out of the car every single weekend and get it to where it needs to be. So it's really tough for that second driver to do anything.
Frederic, what did you say to Pierre? Because I mean, you have a relationship with a driver and you kind of end up being a little bit of a sounding board, a confidant to them. Would you think that Pierre would ever go back to the Red Bull senior team? Would he want to? Would they ask?
He wants to, because he wants the revenge. I don't know if it's the exact word in English, but he wants to even, and we spoke about that on Sunday night after his victory. And I said, now you prove to everyone that you are a driver, because we have to wait 24 years as a French to have a victory. You are the first, and that's kind of a message. And he said, it's not enough. If they ask me, I will go back.
Will they ask him?
I'm not sure. You know better than me, Christian Horner. I'm not sure that, I don't know the English sentence when you say swallow your pride, but I'm not sure that Christian is ready to do that.
I said on our podcast at the weekend, Tom, that I didn't think it was the right time for Pierre now. And I think you have to have this period of stability, get them to the end of this season, get Alex to the end, get Pierre to the end of this season, build their confidence up, make them feel as comfortable as you can in the cars that they're in, and then give them a proper chance. Don't move people around halfway through a season because it unsettles everybody.
I would say wait one more year. Because next year is the same year. We have just like the WEC super season. Then next year is the same as this one. So let's wait till the end of 2021.
You swap them again, they've ruined 2 careers, haven't they?
It would be really bad for Pierre to go to Red Bull right now because Max is used to that car now, and he would be even worse.
We've spoken about Pierre. We'll come back to him just at the end of the programme, but I just want to tick through a couple of other subjects because people are saying, okay, the race was great, and it really was. It was fantastic to have different people on the podium, and Lewis now won't get the 91 wins at Mugello, which I think is a good thing to spare Ferrari's blushes at the moment for their 1000th race. But reverse grids have now come up again. Honest opinion, and I know what's going to happen, but Julianne, let's start with you. Reverse grids, question mark.
If Formula One decides he wants to be entertainment, then yes. But I know some people think it should be engineering. The best one has to win all the time. And the new owners, they want to go more towards this entertainment thing. I think we should try. We should give it a go, 1, 2, 3 races next year and see what happens. Of course, it's not going to be fair because it's a very good example, the Italian Grand Prix. You have one car that was set up to lead from the front. So then Valtteri has a bad start. He's just stuck behind Norris. He cannot overtake because he's the second to last in the speed trap.
Lewis could overtake.
But they changed the car in the red flag as well. They opened up the car a little bit. They tried to help. And Lewis, of course, he is Lewis Hamilton. There will be a difference between them. But the car was not set up for overtaking. The car was not fought for overtaking because it doesn't have to, because it's going to start from the front. And then these people will argue, say, oh, That's unfair because the philosophy of the car goes one way and you go in a completely different direction. I don't agree with them. I think we should try. If it goes really wrong, we just give up on this idea once and for all.
Would you agree that because Usain Bolt, he's not doing 100 dash, but 110? That's a question mark. I'm a sportsman. I work for 25 years in a sports newspaper, and for me, Mercedes is the best. I have to cope with that, and we have to deal with it. Going on the reverse grid is, for me, it's unsportsly. And if you look at the second starting grid, who is in first? Lewis Hamilton, punished, he disappears. Then Stroll, okay, is overtaken by Pierre. And then who is fourth? Carlos Sainz. Who is fifth? No, there's Giovinazzi and Raikkonen, but one is punished and one has the wrong tire. But there's no change on that kind of reverse grid because you're stuck in, that's the way of the modern Formula One. I agree with Julianne. If we try to make more overtaking, that's what they want to do in 22, maybe it will happen, but not the reverse grid. Put some rules, aero rules that helps drivers to have some passing, but not reverse grid.
Tom.
It's a difficult one for me because I personally wouldn't mind seeing it. However, I think if it was 2012 again and we had 7 different winners in the first 7 races, no one would be having this conversation. I think my biggest takeaway from that race is that we just need F1 to be unpredictable again. And however way we go about it, it just needs to be more unpredictable because, like you were saying, there wasn't actually that much overtaking in the race. And you could argue if the cars were too easy, then Bottas would have won the race. And would that be better? Probably we wouldn't be talking about this race as an all-time classic, even if Bottas had come through the field and won. The fact that Pierre won is what made it so incredible. So, yeah, reverse grids, I think they would be the only way to make this current set of Formula One, where Mercedes are so much quicker and it's so hard to overtake, consistently amazing races. But I think when we get to 2022 and the cars change and hopefully the pecking order is a bit closer and they can follow easier, we won't need it. But for me, it's just, I just want it to be as unpredictable as that race, every race. I don't care how many times they overtake each other personally. I just want it to go into a Formula One race and not know who's going to win. And we've not had that for so long now because Mercedes are going to be 8 times world champions next year as well. So this is the longest time I can ever remember people dominating. I know people mention Red Bull and McLaren, Honda back in the day, but that was like 3 or 4 years of dominance. We're now 8 years of Mercedes dominance. So
there are some people who are F1 fans that have never experienced anybody else winning a championship than Mercedes.
That's crazy. Imagine.
I mean, you have to admit that Mercedes have just done a better job than everybody, and it's not like they even have the most money out of everybody. They've just done better than everybody.
For everything.
So, absolutely. And they turn up this year with an even better car than they had last year. And you're just like, well, Ferrari have turned up basically with the same car that they had 2 years ago. No wonder they can't compete.
Hey, can you imagine that we are figuring that maybe the DAS is good for warming up the tire in cold temperature? Could they imagine when they build the car that this Formula One championship would be a winter championship? When we go in Nürburgring in November or in Imola in November 2, that they will need to warm up the tire and they will only have their steering wheel truck.
No, Fred, let's talk about Italy. Let's not talk about what's going to happen in Nürburgring. It's going to be horrible.
Oh Oh gosh, we're bang out of time, but it is the 1000th Ferrari race coming up in Mugello this weekend. So I'd just like to get your predictions for the race, please.
I've heard that they might be running a 1950s livery, and we've been saying that anytime there's any sort of 1950s involvement, Mercedes seem to not do very well. So hopefully that's the case. No offense to Mercedes. But I can see Mercedes being absolutely dominant unless there's some kind of safety car again. The track, while I love Mugello and it seems like an incredible track, it's going to be flat out, not many braking zones. Overtaking certainly going to be very difficult. I could very much see it being the usual suspects back on the podium to Mercedes and Verstappen. But hopefully I've just jinxed it and that won't be the case.
Yeah, there's one thing I like about that track is the corner. The corner's name is Arrabbiata, angry. It's the perfect name for a corner. How come nobody has thought about that before? I think it's going to be one of those that the drivers were telling us, it's amazing, it's high speed. Oh, the cars feel amazing in this track, but they won't be able to overtake. It's going to be really boring. And we won't feel as excited as they will, because they will love that track, I'm sure, with a Formula One car. I wish I could drive a Formula One car at that track, but I don't think we're going to have a very good race.
I agree. I was there in 2012 when we did the testing, and they were all complaining because there were no braking zone. And they said, hopefully we won't have a race there because there will be no entertaining. So I would say that Max will win because something. And Daniel will be on the podium for Renault, and then we'll have a tattoo for the French team principal. And then we have something to write. That's my dream.
We can only hope for you. Now, Fred, I want the last word to go to you. Obviously, it'll go to me because I'll say goodbye to you all. But the last word to go to you on what will live with you forever from Monza.
The Marseillaise. That was all my story on Monday morning, because that's something we heard with Fernando Alonso and Jarno Trulli when they won for Renault. But having a French driver, I used to saw that on TV, and that was my first time. I saw that many times in GP2, in Formula 2, but having that, and I was just in the FIA office that you know, all of you, and I was seeing the podium, and I was just in above Alain Prost and Romain Grosjean. We were moved by that kind of thing, because just like you get bored because they're always the God Save the Queen, and you can't forget because they're always an English driver, or an English team. But for us French, it was quite a long time. So La Marseillaise.
Thank you for sharing all your memories, your thoughts and opinions with me this week. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you all, to Tom, to Fred and to Julianne. Thank you. Stay safe, be well, and let's hope there's more unpredictable races just around the corner. Bye.
Merci, Jennie.
Bye.